Hello friends, in this video we are going to discuss syllabus of oceanography for GS point of view. The first topic what we are going to discuss here is definition of ocean and its significance. Definition of ocean and its significance, right? First of all, try to know what is the definition of ocean. It is a large water body. Ocean refers to it is a large water body. It is a large water body comparable to that water body located in surroundings of North Pole between 66 and half degree north to 90 degree. That is called actually ocean. And the smallest ocean of the world is the Arctic Ocean, right? So the first of all, we have studied here the definition of ocean, then its significance. Oceans having a greater significance for evolution, growth, and development of life as well as human civilization. It is going to influence the climatic system of the world too. It is going to influence the climatic system of the world too. How? In the coastal areas throughout the year, weather as well as climatic conditions remains almost balanced, and it is because of the presence of the ocean water. That is the large, or you can say the largest water body of the earth. It covers around 72% of the earth's surface. It covers around 72% of the earth's surface. So it is little bit understanding of the oceans and its significance. There are five oceans on earth, right? There are five oceans on earth. One is Pacific Ocean, the largest ocean. Second, Atlantic Ocean. Third is Indian Ocean. Fourth, Southern Ocean. And fifth as Arctic Ocean. Fifth as the Arctic Ocean. The second topic we will discuss here is ocean bottom relief, right? We will discuss here ocean bottom relief and oceanic deposits. What are the ocean bottom reliefs? As we see different type of landforms on continent as new folded mountains, plains, plateaus, valleys. In the same way, they are lying the variety of the relief systems, variety of the landforms in oceans too. Unlike of the continents, there is presence of continental shelf, continental slope, deep sand trenches, mid-oceanic ridges, guides, submarine canyons, etc. These are the ocean bottom reliefs what we will discuss in detail during the lecture. So need to know the introduction of the whole syllabus of geography and what components we will deal during the lecture. The third component is oceanic temperature and salinity. Study of the oceanic temperature is similar to the atmospheric temperature, right? Studying the temperature of the atmosphere is similar to the oceanic temperature. if we talk about the if we talk about the oceanic temperature, the main source of energy for the oceanic temperature related to the sun. Sun is responsible for ultimately controlling or regulating the oceanic temperature, right? Oceanic temperature can be studied into two ways. One is the horizontal distribution and second vertical distribution. One is the horizontal distribution and second is the vertical distribution. Horizontally in oceans, temperature decreases from equator towards pole. From equator towards pole, temperature going to reduce 0 degree to 90 degree. Right, from 0 degree to 90 degree, temperature is going to reduce in oceans too. And secondly, we talk about the vertical distribution of the oceanic temperature. It is related to the, in this case, two temperature is going to reduce from ocean surface towards bottom. Temperature is going to reduce from ocean surface towards bottom, right? From ocean surface towards bottom. Temperature is going to reduce from ocean surface towards bottom. So this is just what you can here say, just course extension. What are the components to be studied within the what? Introduction of the geography, introduction of oceanography. But literally, when we will study the oceanic temperature, it will take at least 2.5 hours. And UPSC asked the question in very depth. That's why we should study in the same manner. The second point, oceanic salinity. Oceanic salinity. What is salinity? Salinity refers to grams of salt in 1 kg of water. Grams of salt upon 1000 gram of water multiplied by 1000. This is called as salinity. Amount of salt present in water, that is called salinity, or grams of water, grams of salt in per 1000 gram of water is called salinity. This is called salinity. Suppose there is 35 grams of 35 grams of salt in 1000 gram of water multiplied by 1000 grams, cancels grams, and 1000 by 1000, it becomes 35. This is the average salinity of the ocean. This is the average salinity of ocean. You can write here 35 ppt, 35 ppt, or this notation you can use here. So this is about the word salinity of the ocean, right? This is about the salinity of ocean, or salinity in any context related to river or lakes, river or lake. And the important point is that average salinity of the ocean is 35 ppt, and remember it. Salinity also decreases from, salinity is directly proportional to temperature. Salinity is directly proportional to temperature. As temperature changes, salinity is going to change. As temperature changes, salinity is going to change, right? In such circumstances, we can conclude if temperature is going to increase, salinity increases too, and if temperature reduces, salinity reduces too, and if temperature reduces, salinity reduces too. In such circumstances, we can say salinity decreases from equator towards pole, and it also reduces from surface to of ocean towards ocean bottom, surface of ocean towards ocean bottom, right? So this is all about the oceanic temperature and the salinity in detail. It will take around 2 hours to understand the whole concept of the salinity. The next topic is oceanic currents, sea waves, and tides. So first of all, here we need to understand the oceanic currents. What are the oceanic currents? What are the oceanic currents? Oceanic currents are this one. Oceanic currents are flowing water body either on the surface of an ocean or at certain depth. It is similar to the rivers flowing on the continent, right? It is similar to the rivers flowing on the continent. The main cause of the origin of the oceanic current considered as water level difference and the rotation of Earth. There are two types of basically oceanic currents. One is the cold, second warm. Oceanic currents are basically of two types. One is the cold oceanic current and the second is warm oceanic current. Cold oceanic currents are those flowing from higher latitudes, lower latitudes. Cold oceanic currents are those flowing from higher latitudes to lower latitudes, and warm oceanic currents are those flowing from lower latitudes to higher latitudes. From lower latitudes to higher latitudes, right? Secondly, we can classify the oceanic current on the basis of depth. First is the surface oceanic current flowing on the ocean surface. Second is the deep oceanic current. Such oceanic currents flowing below surface, those are called as deep oceanic currents. On the basis of velocity, oceanic currents further divided into three types. One is the stream, second current, and the third as drift. What is the stream? If the velocity of the ocean water is around 8 kilometer to 12 kilometer per hour, then it is called a stream. We have an example of Gulf Stream. The second is the current. If the velocity is 5 kilometer per hour to 8 kilometer per hour, then it is called as oceanic current. And if the velocity reaches below 5 kilometer per hour, that is around 2 to 5 kilometer per hour, then it is called as drift. We have example of the drift also as North Atlantic drift or west wind drift in the Southern Ocean, North Atlantic drift in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean. So these are all about the oceanic currents, and oceanic currents having the significant impact, significant impact on the climatic conditions, weather, determination of the climatic zones, etc. Like if cold oceanic currents flowing along the coastal areas, if the cold oceanic currents flowing along the coastal areas, necessarily there will take place formation of the deserts. And we have numerous of the examples of the deserts which have created along the cold oceanic currents in the coastal areas. The next topic is what? Sea waves. What are sea waves? Sea waves are moving water body of ocean under influence of pressure gradient. Pressure gradient means vertical pressure gradient of the atmosphere. Vertical pressure gradient of the atmosphere. Because of the pressure, vertical pressure gradient, they are taking place origin of the sea waves. Sea waves. Sometimes they are lying the surfs, kind of sea waves, surf, SIRF, surf. That is an outcome. Surf is an outcome of the fast blowing winds and differential pressure of air. Next topic is tides, water tides. Tides are the moving water. Tides are a kind of raised water level of ocean from average mean sea level under influence of under influence of gravitational pull of sun and moon, right? Under influence of gravitational pull of sun and moon, there takes place rise and fall of the ocean water, that is called as tides. Tides having the greater the significant on the human activities, the climatic conditions, and the oceanic resources too. Tides as well as oceanic currents going to redistribute the resources of the oceans, right? Biotic as well as abiotic resources. Biotic as well as abiotic resources are redistributed under influence of tides as well as oceanic currents. These helps in functioning. These helps in means oceanic currents as well as tides helps in functioning of the seaports. Helps in functioning of the seaports. Tides having the greater the significant towards functioning of the seaports located in the interior of the continents, like the Diamond Harbor. Like what? Diamond Harbor. So this is all about the oceanic current, sea waves, and the tides. And the next is corals, coral reefs, and the coral bleaching. What are corals? Corals are colorful. Corals are colorful, microscopic. Corals are colorful, microscopic, oceanic living organism. Oceanic living organism which develop in ideal circumstances like corals develop in ideal circumstances like moderate temperature, that is 19 to 21 degrees Celsius. Ideal circumstances requires for the evolution or growth development of corals are like temperature might be 19 degrees Celsius to 21 degrees Celsius. 19 degrees Celsius to 21 degrees Celsius, there must be average salinity, that is around 35 ppt. Salinity around 35 ppt. There must be the depth up to around 200 feet, 200 feet depth. Neither fresh nor saline water required for it. Neither fresh nor the saline water, completely saline water required for it. There is a need of the calcium because calcium works as food for corals and it also creates its polyps to reside. The next component required is the zooplankton, that is the food of the corals. Zooplankton, that is the food of the corals, right? So these are the components associated to the life of corals. Associated to the life of corals, these are the important necessary components for the survival of corals. If temperature going to rise, if temperature increases, the very beautifully beautiful looking corals start to dead in such circumstances. In such circumstances, there is the phenomenon of the coral bleaching. Because of the global warming, rising in the average temperature of the earth, there is taking place decoloration of corals. Decoloration of the corals means color of the corals changing continuously because of the high temperature caused by global warming in the oceans. The impact is mainly seen along the enclosed water bodies. We can see this phenomenon especially in the region of the Coral Sea, located in the eastern part of the Australia. Located in eastern part of Australia. So this is what coral bleaching. Coral bleaching is a kind of phenomena associated to whitening the color of the corals or decoloration of the corals. It is associated to deterioration of the health of the corals, right? Deterioration of the health of the corals. The next point is coral reefs. What are the coral reefs? Coral reefs are a kind of hard structures, hard and solid structures forming due to continuous deposition of corals. Continuous deposition of corals, right? Coral reefs are the wall-like hard and solid structures forming due to deposition of the corals on the basis of shape. On the basis of shape and location, there are actually three types of coral reefs. There are actually three types of coral reefs. One is coastal reef. Second, barrier reef, and third is atoll. So these are the coral reefs lying in the ocean. The largest coral reef is in form of barrier reef located in the east of the Queensland province of Australia. Queensland province of Australia named as Great Barrier Reef. And Great Barrier Reef is the largest organic structure. Great Barrier Reef is the largest organic structure in the world. So these all topics will be covered within oceanography. Within oceanography. The next very important and wide segment is Indian geography. Indian geography. So Indian geography is important for the point of view of mains as well as interview examinations. So need to do a special emphasis to understand each and every concept of the Indian geography. One more point I would like to tell all you. Without understanding the physical geography, there is no scope to understand Indian geography. To create complete hold, to create complete hold on Indian geography, we must have proper understanding of physical geography, that is oceanography, climatology, and geomorphology. Right? When we understand these all three units like geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography, we can easily create complete hold on Indian geography too, because this is the applied part of physical geography. This is the what applied part of what physical geography. So need to know the course extension of the Indian geography. The very first topic is location of India and neighboring countries. Location of India and neighboring countries. Right? If we talk about the location of India, India is located in northeast of the globe. Globally, India is located in the northeastern direction. Right? If we talk about latitudinal location of India, in the south, India is located at 8 degree 4 minute north, and in the north it is located at 37 degree 6 minute north, right? In the east, 97 degree 25 minute, and in the west, 97 degree 25 minute east, and in the west, 68 degree 6 minute east. So this is the latitudinal and longitudinal location of India. And globally, India is located in the northeast, latitudinally, longitudinally, we have seen here. And we talk about the and we talk about the location at the level of Asia. India is located in the south of Asia. India is located in the south of Asia. As India is the member of SARC, we know India is the member of SARC. What is SARC? South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation. So this organization, international organization, have been created from the countries of South Asia. That's why India's location at the level of Asia is South. The second, if we talk about the neighboring countries, everyone from the childhood knows about the neighboring countries of India. In the north and west, in the northwest, there is location of Pakistan, Afghanistan. In the northern portion and the eastern portion, there is location of Nepal, China, as well as Bhutan. In the east, there is Myanmar, as well as Bangladesh. In the south, there is presence of Sri Lanka and Maldives. These are the neighboring countries of the India. Few are the coastal neighbors, and few are the coastal neighbors, and few are the what territorial neighbors. So if we talk about the Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar, these three countries are territorial as well as the coastal neighbors of India. But if we talk about the Nepal, Bhutan, and China, Nepal, Bhutan, China, and Afghanistan, these are the only territorial neighbors of the country India. And Sri Lanka as well as Maldives, Sri Lanka, Maldives, sometimes Indonesia, these are the only coastal neighbors of the country India. So these are the neighbors, and we will discuss in detail during the lecture. The next topic in Indian geography, Indian states and union territories. Before August 2019, there was 29 states in India, but right now there are August 2019. Before August 2019, there was 29 states and 7 union territories. 7 union territories, but right now there are 28 states and 8 union territories. At that time, nearby August 2019, there was 28 states and 9 union territories, but 1 union territory have been merged, and right now there are 8 union territories and 28 states. What is the concern of the study of the Indian states and union territory in the geography? Actually, this is a topic, states and union territories, the first chapter of Indian Constitution. It is the first chapter of Indian Constitution, but why I am going to teach you here? It is because we must know the location conditions of the states of India as well as Union Territory. We must know how many states are there in India said to be as interior states. So there are 5 interior states in India. We must have those locations. Which is the largest state, smallest state, and the particulars. If we talk about the Madhya Pradesh is the central state of India. Through how many states Madhya Pradesh having the what in state boundary? Interstate boundary, right? So these are the actually concern of study of the uh, states and union territory. How many states of India having international boundary with 3 countries? How many states are there having international boundary with 2 countries? These are the actually concern of study of this particular chapter. The third is the Indian monsoon and climate. This is the very important topic of the Indian geography. I consider this topic Indian monsoon as what? Heart of Indian geography. Because Indian monsoons decides the actions, each and every, it is going to influence the other topics too. Indian monsoon justifies the agriculture. Indian monsoon justifies the system of transportation, river system, right? Lakes, water bodies, forest conditions, climatic condition of India, etc. That's why it is considered as the heart of Indian geography. This is considered as the heart of Indian geography. So monsoon is the heart of Indian geography. So we must study it in very carefully manner. And I will take around 6 to 7 hours to complete this particular topic. 6 to 7 hours. It will take around 6 to 7 hours to complete all the concepts of the monsoon. There is the thermal concept of Indian monsoon, dynamic concept of Indian monsoon, that is ITCZ concept. Then jet stream concept of Indian monsoon, El Nino concept of Indian monsoon, El Nino Southern Oscillation concept of Indian monsoon, retreat of Indian monsoon, right? These are the topics, these are the components of the Indian monsoon. That's why it takes around 6 to 7 hours in completion. The next component is the climate of India. Indian climate is a kind of monsoon climate that is decided on the basis of the this monsoonal activity, monsoon climate, because India experiences every time monsoonal winds. India experiences every time monsoonal winds, and India is maximally influenced by the affected or influenced by the monsoon in the world. India receives the maximum amount of rainfall in the world at Mosin Ram, right? At Mosin Ram, that is around 1188 centimeter. 1188 centimeter average annual rainfall of Mosin Ram. This is the world highest rainfall located in Meghalaya. Mosin Ram is located in what? Meghalaya. The next topic is national water divide, rainfall distribution, deserts, desertification. These are the topics will be studied at the fourth point. What is the national water divide? What is the national water divide? National water divide is an imaginary line. National water divide is an imaginary line formed by joining the highest altitudes extending from north to south in India. North to south in India. It has shape around, suppose this is the map of India, and this is Sri Lanka, right? So national water divide is drawn from the southern part along the western Ghats. This is a national water divide in India. It distributes the water of India. It distributes Indian water either of the glaciers, mountainous glacier water, or the rainwater into two parts. One goes towards east, that is Bay of Bengal. One goes towards east, that is Bay of Bengal, and the other Arabian Sea. So national water divide is going to distribute the water of the nation, water of the country into two parts. In case of India, it is being divided in Bay of Bengal and in between Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. In between Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, right? So this is about the national water divide. The next point is rainfall distribution. Rainfall distribution is again very important point, very important topic. Rainfall distribution. Why rainfall distribution is important topic? Because the rainfall distribution is going to decide the agricultural activities as per the amount of rainfall in different areas. Farmers of India as well as Indian government do planning do planning related to the farm activities. If an area experiencing rainfall more than 100 centimeter, in those portions actually there is sown rice, paddy, sugarcane like crops. But if rainfall is low, that is below 50 centimeter, 40 centimeter, the options remains only up to jowar, bajra, ragi, pulses, etc. Jowar, Bajra, Ragi, pulse, etc. That's why rainfall distribution as well as the monsoonal concept of the India going to explain, going to give us the concept related to planning of agriculture and other developments. In India, if we talk about the rainfall distribution, general view of the rainfall distribution in India, rainfall decreases from west to east. Amount of rainfall decreases from west to east, right? Amount of rainfall decreases from west to east and from south to north. From south to north, also amount of rainfall reduces. Amount of rainfall reduces. Amount of rainfall reduces from south to north also. And in detail, we will discuss what are the factors influencing the rainfall distribution. So there are various factors which influences the amount of rainfall. That is, the first one is the relief. First one is the relief. Second, distance from sea or effect of continentality. Third, vegetation density. Fourth, as the man-created infrastructures, etc., are the factors responsible for changing the pattern of rainfall distribution. Changing the pattern of rainfall distribution, right? The next point is desert. What is desert? During the lecture, we will also discuss about the deserts. Deserts are those areas experiencing rainfall below 25 centimeter. An area experiencing rainfall below 25 centimeter is called as desert. In case of India, there are two deserts lying here. One is the Thar desert as hot desert, and second as the Ladakh cold desert. And both the places experiencing rainfall below 25 centimeter. Both the places in India experiences rainfall below 25 centimeter. That's why called as desert. The Thar Desert also considered as Great Indian Desert. Thar Desert also considered as what? Great Indian Desert. If we talk about the desertification, it takes more time to explain, but I would like to tell extension of the desert areas because of the human activities or the natural factors called as desertification. Desertification is a process of increasing the area of desert, either by human or natural action. Either by the human action or by the natural actions. The next topic is the drainage system and drainage pattern. What is drainage system? What is drainage system? Flowing of water on the continental surface or the land surface according to the slope conditions with interconnected system is called as desert. Sorry, is called as drainage system. Drainage system is the interlinkages of various rivers. Interlinkages of various rivers, that is called as drainage system. In case of India, initially we can classify there are two types of the what? There are two types of drainage systems initially based on the sources of the water. The first is the Himalayan drainage system and the second is peninsular drainage system. Himalayan drainage system means the rivers of the Himalayas are mainly based upon the source of glaciers. That's why the rivers are perennial and providing the unique characteristics for the Himalayan drainage system. And if we talk about the peninsular drainage systems of the rivers depending upon the rainwater, that's why the rivers are non-perennial. Rivers are non-perennial and having the source of origin at the rain. The rivers having their source of origin as the rainfall, Rainfall in such circumstances, basically we can classify the Indian drainage system into two, as one as the Himalayas and the second as peninsular drainage system. But in Himalayan also there are many drainage systems like Indus drainage system, Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra. These are the main drainage systems of the Himalayan region. And if we talk about the peninsula region, there are variety of the many of the drainage systems in the peninsula regions. One is Godavari, second Krishna, Kaveri, Periyar, Pennar, Mahanadi, Narmada, Tapi, Luni. These are the etc. These are the actually drainage systems of the peninsular region. Drainage systems of the peninsular region. The next point, this topic drainage system also will take around 2 to 3 hours to complete this chapter. And the next point is drainage pattern. Next point is drainage pattern. What is the drainage pattern? Unique, specific, identical, geometrical pattern created by the rivers or water streams called as drainage pattern. If we find a specific pattern in the river systems, a specific geometrical pattern in the river systems, then it's called as drainage pattern. Then it is called as drainage pattern. So there are basically four types of drainage pattern. One is dendritic drainage pattern, second trellis, third rectangular, and fourth as radial. There are also like centrifugal drainage pattern, lunar drainage pattern. There are many of the drainage pattern, but for the point of view of GS, four drainage patterns are more important. Sixth chapter, sixth chapter of the topic related to the irrigation and multi-purpose projects. Irrigation and multi-purpose projects. What we will discuss in irrigation? First of all, we must know about the definition of irrigation. What is the definition of irrigation? What is the definition of irrigation? Artificial supply of water to plants, crops, or the trees. That is called as irrigation. That is called as irrigation. There are four mechanisms of irrigation. One, flood irrigation. Second, a sprinkler. One, flood. Second, a sprinkler. Third, as shell irrigation. And fourth, as drip irrigation. There are four types of the irrigation, four mechanisms of irrigation to be done by the human beings. The drip and shell irrigation are the concept of irrigation used in dry land farming. Used in what? Dry land farming. But in case of India, flood irrigation is the most popular means of the irrigation. Most popular means of the irrigation. What are the multi-purpose projects? Multi-purpose projects are those. Multi-purpose projects are those which are created on the river through construction of dams. Through construction of dams. Created on rivers through construction of dams. Why it is called multi-purpose? Because dams are used in multi-purposes. Like it can be used for the purpose of irrigation by creating the canals. By creating the what? Canals can be used as irrigation purposes. Secondly, can be produce hydropower electricity. Hydropower electricity can be produced through the dams. Third, it can be used as a purpose of tourism, aquaculture, etc. So there are variety of the uses of the dams that were considered as the multi-purpose projects. In India, it was started in 1948 after independence under the what? Rule of the Indian government. Under the rule of India. First dam was created in India in 1885. But not by the Britishers' effort. It was by the King Periyar. And Periyar Dam was constructed firstly in India in 1885. Right? So these are actually multi-purpose projects related to the dams. And the next is soils of India. According to ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, according to ICAR, there are 8 types of soils in India. There are 8 types of soils in India, and we will discuss those old soils within the lectures, right? During the class, we will discuss all those soils, how the soils are going to impact the agriculture, what kind of crops can be produced in alluvial soils, or which soil is suitable for production of sugarcane, etc. These kind of the discussions will be done during the lecture. So this is about the soil of India. And what is the definition of soil? It is the what? Mixture of biotic and abiotic components. Soils are the mixture of biotic and abiotic components. It is the mixture of disintegrated rocks and decomposed dead materials. If the if there is 4 is to 2 is to 1 ratio of what? NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, then called as developed soil. Then called as developed soil. I will discuss these all things. I will discuss also the soil profile. I will discuss also the soil profile. Soils of India. Then topic number 8 is Indian agriculture with green revolution first and second. Indian agriculture with green revolution first and second. It will these will be the topics within as eighth topic. In Indian agriculture, we will study first about the type of crops produced in India, background of agriculture, background of Indian agriculture. We will start it from the ancient India, ancient, then medieval, then the role of Britishers to exploiting the agriculture of India, exploiting the interest of Indian agriculture, then how we retracked Indian agriculture by the concept of Green Revolution first, and right now too, we are tracking again. We are tracking again to what Indian agriculture by implementing the Green Revolution second, where there is the means of chemical fertilizer is as what manures or green fertilizers. The next topic is Indian transport system. One very important point related to the very important point related to the transport system. According to me, transport system plays a role, vital role in economic development of the country. It is similar to the what veins in human body, as there is the role of human body in survival of the human body, in the existence of human body. In the same way, for the existence or rapid growth development, there is a need of transport system. And one more thing I would like to say, if any country experiencing developed form of the if any country experiencing developed form of transport system, necessarily the country would be what developed country, and vice versa conditions prevails too. If country has what developed economy, it must have developed transportational infrastructure. Transportational infrastructure, right? There are variety of the transport system in the country India. One is the railways, Second as roadways. Third, inland waterways. Third, inland waterways. Fourth, pipeline transport. Fifth as sea routes, as India also uses sea routes. Then air transport. One recent is the Hyperloop. Hyperloop means of transportation also has been implemented in the country India. It is running between Mumbai to Pune, having distance of around 165 meter, and its motive is to cover 165-kilometer distance between Mumbai and Pune in 35 minutes. According to some other sources, that is time taken to cover 165 kilometer by the Hyperloop transport system, 165 kilometer in 19 minutes. So we can just imagine what would the speed of Hyperloop concept, Hyperloop means of transportation. So this is about transport system. The next topic is industrial location theory. Industrial location theory, and before it we will discuss here in point 9, we will discuss minerals. Minerals and industries of India. Minerals and industries of India as well as world. This is the topics of economics, but I will discuss here as there is a need to discuss the concept of the localization of the industries too. Minerals and industries, there are variety of the minerals, mineral resources as metallic and non-metallic minerals. Metallic and non-metallic minerals. In non-metallic, there are like coal, diamond, graphite, asbestos, etc. But if you talk about the metallic minerals, in metallic minerals, there is presence of elements, different type of the elements, iron, aluminium, copper, etc. So it is about the what industrial minerals and industries. Then industrial location theory. This theory was actually propounded by Max Weber. This theory of industrial location was propounded by Max Weber to related to establishment of industry with least cost principle, means the cost of production of goods must be minimum, and it was conceptualized by this method, or this concept, or this theory was conceptualized by Max Weber. So we will discuss it also during the lectures. And the next is Malthusian model. Malthusian model is related to Malthusian model is what associated to Malthusian model is associated to the what creating relationship between resource and human population. Resource and human population, according to Malthus, resource increases arithmetically means 1, 2, 3 form, and human population geometrically means in multiple form, that is 1, 2, 4, 8, like these. Okay, so this was the perception of the Malthus, but not applicable globally. But not applicable globally at that time when he propounded this theory. At that time, it was completely applicable, but it is now deviating from the its actualization. The next concept is Marxism. Marx also propounded the concept of socialism. Marx propounded the concept of socialism. According to him, the capitalistic form of economy is harmful for the society, global society, or any society of any country. In such circumstances, there must take place shiftement of the capitalistic economy toward a socialistic economy. Right? So socialistic economy. This was given by Mr. Marx. Then there is what demographic transition theory. Demographic transition theory. In this theory, we study the change of pattern of population. Change of pattern of population with respect to changing the economic and social system, economic and social composition, right? Economic and social, with respect to changing the socio-economic conditions, there takes place changing pattern of the growth of population. And this series is going to explain how there takes place change in the population with respect to socio-economic growth and development. The 15th number topic is related to the population and the population density. What is population? Number of people residing in per unit area at a specific time related to the population. And population density, number of people living in per unit area or per square kilometer, that is called as population density. This will help us to understand the population density and population of India as well as world. We will discuss within this topic the concept of the population density of India as well as world, right? The next topic is optimum under and overpopulation. Concept of optimum under and overpopulation. What is this? Actually, ultimately, we want what we desire. We desire to optimize the population of any country, any nation. Why? In case of optimum population, there is lying balance condition in the resource and population. So every country intended to create optimum population, but generally, in developing country, there is the condition of overpopulation. In developing country, there is condition of overpopulation. In developed country, there is condition of optimum population, and the countries, European countries like European countries like Germany, France, and some countries of Anglo America as USA, Japan, etc., having the optimum population. So there are the rare countries having the optimum population and maximum either having underpopulation or overpopulation. So here we will discuss about the problems of the population of any country. Problems of the population of any country. And the last unit is related to the world geography. Within this topic, world geography, within this topic, we will discuss about every continents of the world with respect to physical and human segments. Means here is need to know about the population of the world, need to know about the ethnic group system of the world, races and tribes of the world, industrial system of the world, minerals industries of the world, forest resources, natural resources, man-made resources. So every kind of the world conditions related to the rivers, mountain system, we will discuss every component within this topic. It will take around 15 to 20 hours to cover this particular segment. This particular segment. So up to the completion of this particular topic, we will become able to understand whole the whole the concept of the geography, whole the concept of geography of India, world, as well as physical. Thanks to all of you. Stay with me and complete the syllabus of geography up to the mark of UPSC. All the best.